Alright, so this is, well, the chassis of a Val-Keen, which is basically a Detrola, model 572 from 1946, 1947. This is a 6-tube set with a tuned RF stage and a power transformer. These have a shortwave band from 6 to 18 megahertz and the regular AM broadcast band. The reason why I'm recording this video with the chassis out is because I'm partially through the video, and I didn't do any research on this radio before I started working on it, so I had to do a little research and figured out what it was. So I'm putting this at the very beginning of the video, so if you hear certain things like I'm not sure what this, who this radio is made by or whatever through the video, that's why. And by the way, Detrola made many brands of radios, and I mean brands, meaning it was basically a lot of the same radios that had another name slapped on them, which is basically what this is. They made radios for people like Firestone, Sears, True Tone, which was Western Auto, so this Val-Keen is, I think it was made for a sporting goods store out of Chicago called True Test or something like that. Anyway, it was probably a mail order outfit or something like that, but so anyway, let's get to the video. Alright, so here's a Val-Keen. I have no idea the model number on this radio, and I don't know when it was from, so I'll have to research it before I post this video. I'm sure by the time I post this video, hopefully I would have found it, but anyway, it is a shortwave and AM broadcast radio. Missing most of the knobs. It's pretty junky. So this is I believe this is a transformer operated set, so it's not an All-American 5. I haven't taken the back off of it, but it's heavier than most of All-American 5, so I've got a pretty good idea that this is a transformer set. So anyway, let's see what's going on with it. I have no idea what's wrong with it. I just bought it in a lot of radios. And by the way, I put this knob on it. It had no knobs, so that's the only, well, I got some more, but that's the first one I could find that would fit on there. So at least we could have a way to tune it. So I don't think anybody's home. That's the band switch. Don't think there's anybody home. Looks like we got tubes lighting up. Tubes lighting up, but nobody's home. Go ahead and unplug it. I don't want to leave it plugged in too long. I don't know what the issue is with this thing, but we go ahead and pull the back off this thing and see what we're working with here. Well, it looks like everything's in there, and it does have a transformer, so cool. Those are probably 6-volt tubes in, most likely. There's no model number or anything on the bottom of this thing, and it's somebody's taped or attempted to tape the feet back on it. I don't know why they just didn't wood glue them. Doesn't really take that much effort to do that, but anyway. So the case is coming apart on this thing. It looks like it came unglued, so we'll have to deal with that and try to get that glued back together. I'm gonna get these 4 screws out so we can get the chassis out. Oh, I got the chassis out, and I think I see what part of what our problem already is. This speaker is unplugged. It's supposed to plug in there. I saw this plug, but I thought, well, maybe that might be for something, you know, some kind of an add-on or something, but it's not. It's for the speaker here. So we'll need to plug that in and see what kind of action we get. Alright, so I got the speaker plugged in, and I'm hearing a little bit of static. Definitely hearing something. I'm not picking up anything. It might work. I don't hear any humming. The filter cap's not hot. Oh, we're getting something. Look at the band switch up. That sounds like that came to life. Turn that light off. Sounds like it works. It's just a little bit distorted. Well, it's picking up 970. Sounds pretty distorted though. I have to get it off that copyrighted stuff.
Says, these have I written unto you, that believe on the name of the Son of God, that you may know that you have eternal life, and that you may believe on the name.
Well, that sounds like crap, but it does work. Well, here's the underside of the chassis. Got some spider webs or something blowing, cobwebs blowing in the breeze. So, yeah, not too bad. Been a while since I've seen a cap like that. That big, but one of those, I guess that's a mica cap, or it could be one that looks like a mica cap and it's just in a sort of a mica case. It could be a paper in a mica case. Don't know. But yeah, looks pretty good. It's got a replacement filter, but looks like they did leave part of the original one hooked up. So we got more than one wire coming here. We got this one going up here, and this one coming out of the transformer. That looks like that's going to chassis ground. And we got a red one over here going over in here to the speaker plug. So yeah, we'll probably pull that out and just replace that with a modern electrolytic, and same here. And then we got one here. This one's 16 at 450. It's one of those Sprague Adams dry electrolytic. And the radio don't have any hum in it, so that's, yeah, pretty good. Okay, so I changed the coupling cap between the first audio tube and the audio output tube, and that seemed to clean up the audio on this thing. So the thing is, one thing you can check is if you're getting distortion on your signal or your audio, check your coupling caps and some of your bypass caps. This one sounded more like distortion in the audio circuit than the per se on the signal. It didn't have any artifacts on the signal. It just had distorted audio. So what you do, you know, check your coupling caps, you know, between your tubes, because, you know, they filter out DC on the signal. They knock out DC, and just keep the AC signal going through. And if you get DC signal, it'll cause distortion. So that's what I checked, and it just, you know, that one was bad. So you know, you've got these coupling caps on the audio output circuit too, you can check. And if you have, you know, distortion, that could take care of it, and in this case it did. Okay, so looks like I got the shortwave receiving pretty well. It's up somewhere around 15-16 megahertz.
What the devil does. It's very subtle what I'm saying.
Okay, so what I've done is I have replaced some of these electrolytics in here, and a few of these paper caps I've replaced. Well, pretty much all of them in the audio circuit, and you know, kind of working my way up, you know, from the back end to the front end of the radio. And anyway, I'm trying to you know, just going through and replacing a lot of the paper caps, and kind of testing the resistors as I go. I found one 6.8 meg that was up around 8 meg, so I replaced that one. But that's really all I've replaced right now. A lot of these are, you know, decent in value. They're not kind of crazy off, so I've kind of left them alone. But anyway, this multi-section filter capacitor down here, like I might have said earlier in the video, they took and replaced one section out of that multi-section down there and replaced it with a 16. It was the 15 microfarad section, and I put a 15 at 450 back in there. And there's one more section that's got about 270 volts on it, so I'm gonna replace that one with about a 400. But I need a 20 microfarad, and I've only got a 15, so I'm gonna have to order some. And then there's another one down there, it's got about 6 volts on it. 20 microfarad, I could probably put, you know, maybe a 50 or 100 volt resistor in there, or capacitor in there, you know, maybe even a 35 volt one. It's low voltage, so you know, I could replace that section. But I do need a 20 microfarad at 4 or 450, so I'm gonna have to kind of put that off. Alright, so while we wait on the parts to come in, this radio has an issue with the cabinet coming unglued on the bottom. I read that it's a pretty common issue with these radios. They have the wraparound, you know, cabinet. It's basically like bent plywood, you know, and it wraps around here and attaches at the bottom to a plywood bottom plate. Okay, I thought I'd let the noisy ambulances pass. Anyway, it attaches at the bottom, you know, with some nails, and probably originally glued, so this has come undone. I heard this is a really common problem in this radio, with this coming apart, you know, just like all the others. So I'm gonna see what I can do about this case, see if I can get this fixed. I'm gonna try to glue it and put it in some clamps and see if I get anywhere with that. So while we're waiting on parts, I figured I'd do that. Okay, so while that case is drying, I've got some wood glue drying on it. I want to address a few issues with this radio, and that's these tubes are loose. Already did this one and fixed it because it was causing dropouts in the signal, but this rectifier tube is just really loose. It just I mean, it plugs in, but it really has no resistance to holding it, so need to try to tighten up these pins in here. Okay, with this thing upside down, these are just, you know, the standard 6-volt octal tubes, so I'm just going to take, with the tube removed, I'm just going to take my little needle-nose pliers and give each of these pins a squeeze in. You don't have to do it very hard. You don't want to do it too hard or you'll break the pins, or the sockets, what I meant. And just give them a little squeeze. And just kind of go around doing that. Okay, so quite a few of them were loose. I mean, you could just pull them straight out. There was no resistance in the socket. So as you can see, I'm wiggling these, and that was all 6 of them, and there's no dropouts. So that's what we want. Good connection to the tube. Okay, so after playing and testing this radio for a while, we've got this capacitor here that's literally leaking wax or something out of the center of it. This is one of those black plastic bomb caps, basically a paper capacitor coated in plastic, and they were actually worse in reliability than the standard paper capacitors, and they have a high failure rate. This was a replacement. You can tell by the soldering job anyway in here, and you know, I think this radio would have been right before they started, when it was made, would have been, you know, maybe 5 to 10 years before they actually started really making these caps quite a bit, or at least 5 years, because I think I've seen them in some early 50 model radios from the factory. But anyway, these are worse than the paper capacitor, so yeah, this one's definitely physically leaking, so this has got to go. I'm gonna change this cap here. Okay, so I was checking resistors and found an issue. This resistor here was right where that little blue one is. It comes off the cathode of the audio output tube, which is a 6K6, and shunts over to ground. It's supposed to be a 560 ohm resistor. You can look at that. You can barely see. It's kind of looks like it's gotten hot. And there's a blue, or a green, blue, and brown. Well, the problem is this resistor only reads 110 ohms. So yeah, that's one of the very limited times I've run into where a resistor was lower than what it actually supposed to read. So yeah, that had to be replaced. We put a 560 in there, and the voltage on that pin is a lot closer to where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I don't know what would have caused that, but that thing's probably gotten hot. So anyway, just an interesting little something I ran into with that. I've been checking resistors in this audio section because they tend to go out because they're in a higher voltage area and a higher heat area. And something else kind of strange here, we've got this resistor here that's running from the IF tube over here, and I believe it's the cathode, and my bad, screen grid, coming off the screen grid, coming over here to this terminal strip over here. It's supposed to be a 22K resistor, 1 watt, and this is, they've got a 10K in here. I don't get that. So yeah, this is reading about 12, but yeah, it's supposed to be a 22K. Yeah, 22K is what's supposed to be in there, and they got a 10K. Brown, black, orange. It's supposed to be red, orange. And measuring some of these filter cap sections. This thing, I don't know, it's got high voltage on the plate on the first audio tube, the 6SQ7. It's right here, you know, it says to check it with 117 volts line voltage, so I've got it hooked to my Variac, and well, you know, I've got it dialed back to 117. My line voltage out here is 120 to 122, so got it dialed back to 117. I'm still getting like 80-90 volts on this. That's a bit high. The schematic says 34. I don't know if that's a misprint. Is it supposed to be 84 or is it supposed to be 134? I don't know, but you know, I mean, misprints on schematics do happen, so I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. And I know this filter cap is, you know, not, it's probably got high ESR. It's coming in at about 32 microfarad. That's supposed to be 20. And there's another 20 microfarad section that was low voltage. And it's coming in at almost 40. That's supposed to be 20 microfarad. So I found a 22. I measured the voltage on this. This is the low voltage section. It's like 18 volts. And just to protect my butt, you know, for surge voltage or anything like that, which I measured the surge voltage, I didn't get any, but just in case there is, I put a 160 at 22 on there. I think the original is like a 400. I mean, you know, that's kind of overkill, but it's reading about 40 microfarad on that one section. Yeah, 39. And then the one that's like 400, well, this one here is, that's a 400 volt section, but when you turn the radio on, it surges up to about 380. And so it's about 33 microfarad or so. So it's probably got high ESR. I'm waiting on some caps to come in, but I do have this 22 at 450. I measured it. It's right at 22. So I'm gonna throw this in there and see what we get. All right, to demonstrate our turn on voltage here, you know, voltage surge when we first turn the set on before it started loading down. So anyway, I'm gonna flip this switch on my Variac, and I'm gonna let you watch the voltage creep up really high, and then it starts going back down. See, 390, 400 volts. Now it's starting to load down and it's starting to come back down. That's what I'm talking about, surge voltage. You can measure it while the radio's playing. And it's a lot lower. You get it off that crap so it doesn't, no copyright BS. And it's, you know, it's right at 300 volts. But as you saw, it was 100 volts higher when you first turn it on for the couple of seconds. So you need a capacitor that's going to hold that amount of voltage. So this would have to be like a 450 volt cap to be able to hold that. And over the years, if you keep, you know, jamming over what it's rated at, it'll blow the cap. Alright, so here's our old parts pile. Quite a few old resistors, at least 5 or 6 of them, and we got all of our old paper capacitors, and even one that was physically leaking. An old Sprague Black Beauty is what that one is. Advise taking those out ASAP if your radio comes with one. This is a replacement capacitor. This Cornell capacitor. I think that was our original offender with the distortion when I first cut it on. It was bad. Plastic coated paper capacitors are usually bad news. These seal type capacitors are one of the best paper capacitors I've seen, and they hold up pretty good over time. This is a 0.1 at 400. I don't think it was even bad. I just replaced it because it was old as preventative maintenance. There's a 0.5 at 200. This is a dual seal, but it looks like it's about gone. So here we go. I said quite a few resistors we replaced. Some of them were way out of tolerance and some of them were just barely out of tolerance. So had to take one end of the leg off, so I said, well, might as well replace them. We got it halfway out. Got all of our filter capacitors replaced, even though the original one wasn't humming. I showed you where the microfarads were up, and they probably were leaky a little bit, and I'm sure they had high ESR, so might as well just go ahead and replace them. They're cheap enough. Rather replace those and burn up a power transformer. Alright, I say we're done here. I'm going to go ahead and get it back in the case, and I'll do a band scan on it and see how it picks up. Last time I checked it, it was really clear. Alright, so got it all back together, and it's in the case, and as you can see, I refinished the case. It was in such bad shape that I just decided to redo it so it looks a little bit better. And it's still chipped here and a little bit there, but it looks a lot better than it did. So anyway, these knobs, I know these aren't the original knobs. The original knobs are almost impossible to find. Apparently they were made out of some chintzy plastic that never held up, and so just about every one of these radios you see in the Detrola variety or whatever the name that is on them does not have the original knobs, because like I said, they're made out of chintzy plastic that disintegrated. We're on shortwave, going from the bottom up.
And many other ways.
Estamos en alerta, nivel 3, gobierno, que se ha implementado supuestamente hasta este viernes en un principio, pero se extendió el martes, sí,
Some controls are contaminated with mercury. How do you water clean?
There's WWV. Pretty close to 10. Not bad. Not much coming in. Whew, turn that down. AM side blares in.
Is to help nourish that talent.
One of the things I've heard people say about C.A. Johnson is that
The K-Grove movie star.
Got the electrical noise coming in, it's really bad. It's not the lights in here. It's probably the power poles out acting up again.
It's available for you at whitestarseminars.com. Who do you think I'm talking to? I'm like, I don't know. You said babe.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I call Dieter Sweet Teats here. Is there anything wrong with that?
it's normal. Rover's Morning Glory.
The iHeartRadio Music Award.
Did you hear it?
Once in a lifetime moment.
Did you see that?
Wow. Happened at our iHeartRadio Music Awards.
Crazy.
Insane.
Absolutely not.
You picked the winners.
I want to thank.
Really, really clear on 970.
Watched it live on television Thursday night. Now, relive our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Awards.
Thank you so much to our fans.
Watch with On Demand. Fox Now.
Academic success is there. I think with people, sometimes that stigma of what you just said.
We'll put a link to the Ars Technica article so you can read the scare.
Her administration staff, and continued now to our current principal. ExpressVPN encrypts one of your data to protect you.
All right, there's the Val-Keen 1946, aka Detrola radio, restored and playing again. So appreciate all y'all watching. Take care.